Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining me again. I am Shauna, and as always, I'm joined by the crazy Amas,
How
who's going
how are you? And see, I've gone from lovely, and the more you've gotten to know me, it's I've
yeah,
graduated to crazy. So that
yeah,
checks. This is the evolution of every relationship I have with anyone ever. So
you know what?
good
I
to be
think
with you.
you have to know. For me, it's a term of endearment because, like, what is normal anyway? Do you know what I
Exactly.
mean?
Exactly.
Love a
Normal
bit of
and
crazy.
boring.
Those are the fun people.
Exactly. Good to be here.
Glad that you are. I hope you're not sick of me just yet because I have a lot to talk about. And I want to start with employees. So we've touched upon employees a number of times through our conversations. However, I kind of want to drill down on what we can do. So to start with, I will start with a quote because as you've seen, I'd like to start with a quote. And the quote you gave was, "Every CEO talks about the importance of taking care of the customer. Yet, time after time, they hire people they don't trust and then put them in charge of making customers happy." That for me sounds like a complete just juxtaposition. Like, why would
Mm.
you do that? Um, what is it that um, what is it that you feel that C-suite? I've had a little bit of a brain melt just now. What do you feel that C-suite executives can do to see more value in investing in customer service employees that they trust and that they can give and embolden?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that what I said there is controversial, and I hope people don't feel that way. Just look at the evidence, right? So, like the CEO and all the executives of every company says, "Gosh, we love our customers. Without our customers, blah 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 blah." And then the people with customer in their title, meaning, I mean, all of us are here for the customer, but these guys are really here to take care of the customer.
Yeah,
They clearly don't trust them, and that's not my opinion. I'm just judging by the way you treat them. So think about contact centers. Think about service desk, customer service desk. What do they all have in common, right? Rules. You have to get permission before you breathe. We will track you every time you do this, every time you issue a credit. We don't trust you to make the right decision. You got to go get a manager, right? So it's is everything that just screams, I do not trust you, from the way the policies and that. And worse than that, who do you choose to pay the least to? Right? The people with customer in their title. You are not serious. If you do not really care about customer service in that way, because stop telling me what you're doing. I can watch your actions. So I think some of this has just been the legacy of, the past executive team did this, and very few of them has really just examined and said, wait a second, I want the very best and brightest talking to our customers. And by the way, people who tend to gravitate towards customer service generally are the best and brightest. They have an affiliation for it. The problem is they walk in all excited to come take care of the customer, and then they get there, and it's very obvious the way you treat them that this is not a crucial job. This is a stepping stone job. This is the job I have for a while, and for someone like me, and for those of us who are like, no, this is where I want to live, this is the most important part of the company, it gets disheartening to watch executive after executive, mama, we love our customers, we love them. And then I watch the actions, and it is so disappointing. But to your question of how do we see the turnaround, I think we are far away from there. The first thing that needs to happen before you can solve any problem is identify it. I just simply want, if there are executives listening out there, to just examine your behavior. How do you really feel about customer service? If it is true the customer service is not that important, start saying that, right? Just say it. Don't be ashamed to. Like, say, you know what? Customer service is like the janitorial services. right? It's crucial. Like whatever, right? Say it and then have your actions match your words. If on the other hand, if we are to take your word at how important customer service is, well, put the actions to back it up.
Definitely, the actions have to be there. And from what I've seen, and again, we've spoken about this, that action is to change their title to something along the lines of customer success. Now, my understanding of customer success is that you are customer focused. Customer is the first thing that you think about from the top to the bottom. That includes C suite executives. But from my experience, and I've been working in customer success for a little while, that doesn't necessarily translate outside of the people who are talking to the customers. So, is that something that people just need to? It needs more time for people to have more adjustment, or is it something that is just being used to, like you said, mollify customers by changing their title and making them think that they're more important than they are to executives?
Yeah, I called out customer success as a success as a pardon the pun, a success story,
Mm,
um, relative to the rest of traditional customer service. And the key difference, right? Not just changing the title. If it's a real customer success organization, it's generally because of a financial incentive, a direct financial incentive, right? So you tend to see customer success a lot in SaaS, right? Software as a service industries, wherein the more the customer uses the service or the product, the more money the customer makes. So naturally, customer success is not just about solving your problems. It's that they get that, hey, if we get them to solve their problems and teach them how to use this, there's more money for us. So it's a shameless, it's a shameless, right? Financial money grab. That's all it is. If that incentive wasn't there, I don't think that I would have been lifting them up as this sort of success stories. They are organizations who change titles to all kinds of things.
mm.
Customer advocacy, and all of that is just put in bright red lipstick on an ugly pig. The pig is still not pretty, right? So that doesn't really change the fundamental. It's not titles that need to change, it's attitudes and actions towards the C suite. And I always just want at least parity. And what I always say is, I would say, can I go get anyone in your marketing department and tell them to come work in customer service, particularly if it's a contact center or call center, for a 3 month stay? And do you think they will make it, or do you think they will quit their jobs? And if the answer is they will quit, then voila, right? Because there is no one else in the entire company, including the all important janitor, who is told when to go to the bathroom and for how long, who is told what to say. Like, you just pause and think about it, right? The security guard does not have a script. We somehow have empowered the security guard that you're a human being. When other human beings interact with you, do the human being then and just talk to them, right? But somehow we get to this, guys. I'm going to tell you what to say. I'm going to give you nonsense advice like smile on the phone. What the fuck is smile on the phone actually even mean? Like, I don't even know what. Can you hear my smile? Like, and what am I smiling about, for Christ's sakes, right? Just let me be a human being as you've done for everyone else. If I am grumpy and professional, so be it. It's a human to human interaction. So long as I'm not rude, I'm not impolite. If I am a sunny, ha ha, da da da, let me be myself, right? Like, I don't need that. So I continue to say it's not a title change, it's a change in the underlying actions and behaviors and attitudes that you have towards this particular set of people. And I've been hammering this for many years. I wrote a viral article in, I think, the 2015 that said customer service has too much in common with prostitution. And I was somewhat provocative, but I've been saying this for a long time because I reflect back to when I ran customer service organizations. And I deeply regret some of the things that I didn't change, that I just accepted as the status quo, because to me, I cannot think of a more important department in any company, no matter how big or small the company is. So it's not titles that need to change, it's
Mm.
the attitudes, it's the behaviors, it's the tool and the processes that really needs to evolve.
I completely agree. And I felt like when you talked about marketing, that really hit close to home. I remember working on a job where we had a very small team, it was a very small company. There were two of us in the customer service desk. If the phone, we were both on the phone, then everybody else's phone would ring. And so they would have to pick up and speak to the customer and tell them that we would have to call them back, which one isn't helpful to me. But two, they complained about it like a lot, and it's kind of like, well, welcome to my world. Every time you walk in and ask me to give you some help, you know, you know what I mean. So I definitely think that no other departments would put up with that. And I'm wondering why we compared it to the publicity that Amazon have gotten about how they treat their staff, and we compared it quite almost like for like in a service that has been going on, as far as I'm concerned, as longer than the telephone. So why hasn't this kind of been brought to our attention, in your opinion, before this?
Yeah, I think that's, the longer something goes on, right? The
Mm,
more it sort of feels normal, feels like the furniture in the room, and no one really takes the time to examine it. And that's why part of why I wrote this book, Waiting for Service, is. But to answer your question, here's what I think, based on what I've seen over this 20 plus years. It's that the funny thing about customer service that many people miss, is that customer service doesn't create any of the problems, well, almost any of the problems it has to resolve. So if you just think about any customer service interaction, if you're listening to
mm,
this and you work in customer service, when someone calls you, it's because marketing is screwed up, sales is screwed up, somebody else is screwed up, right? And that person who is screwed up does not want to talk to the customer. They go somehow, it's your job. Like we've turned it completely, we've not even examined it. If if I were a new CEO running a company and you're listening to my voice, I have no intention of doing such thing. But if you were like creating a company to sell goods and services to a company, I think you should be rethinking the whole thing. For example, why is it that we keep needing the middleman? Right. So, in other words, like the problem is with shipping, but yet you're talking to me in customer service who barely has any access to the shipping. So I become this guy who's your punching bag, and you punch me and punch me. And then all I'm doing is then taking that, relaying it, and that we're playing this game of telephone, and no one has ever stopped to go, well, wait a second, right? Like the person who can resolve this quicker is the person who's closest to the problem. And I
mm,
know there are some quants out there, you spreadsheet lovers, who are going, that would be so inefficient and all of this kind of deal. Well, it's like, how efficient is this? How efficient is customer calls me, Mr. Customer Service Guy. I apologize for something I don't even know how or why it happened. So it sounds insincere as much as I
mm,
smile on the phone, because I don't really have any connection to it. I can hear you're angry. I don't really know. And then I take the information and then I put you on hold or whatever. And then I call this guy and I go, hey, da 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 da. So, like, how efficient is that? Right. So
mm,
I'm just using that as an example to point out that some of the things I am talking about is so jarring, is why I didn't even bother writing this book to the executives. I've written the curated experience. I can go read that. I wrote it to you, the customer, because the people who work in it have just been so steep in it that they just think all of this is normal. You, the customer, know it's not normal. Do you know how I know that? I'm a customer myself. I can tell the person I am talking to doesn't have access, doesn't know what I am doing. And I'm going, can I talk to the person who actually knows this thing? I've always hated middlemen, right?
Mm.
I am for shooting the messenger. I'm for shooting the messenger because I hate middlemen. Like, can you get that guy or gal on the phone so that we can move a lot faster? Because
Mm.
you are just having a conversation that you're not even versed in. So your question about, why it hasn't been that, it's because we tend to not question things, right?
Mm.
We tend to, most people just accept the world the way it is and then stop and then go from there. Let's improve it, right? Like,
Mm.
we have this crappy sandwich. Now let's put some toppings on it. Maybe if we had bacon on top of this, shit sandwich, it'll taste better. Instead of going, wait a second, this then is a crappy sandwich to begin with. Let's examine it and go, maybe we should rethink the way we organize customer service and get out of this. So that's the best answer I can come up with, is that I just don't think human beings, particularly in corporate environments, in a corporate environment and in business, you are not the popular guy when you start questioning things, right? It's a
Mm.
kumbaya place. You are not getting promoted if you are constantly going, why the hell do we do this? Why? And you're trust me, as a guy who has been in corporate America for long, you will not be invited to the cool kids table if you are the guy who keeps going, why are we doing this? Why are we doing that? They will stop inviting you. I'm saying this from experience.
I feel like I would probably be uninvited if I'm honest, because I would definitely be like, don't you think this could be a bit more efficient? Um, I also feel like you did kind of mention it just now, and feel like the connection to the mistakes of other departments, um, and then they're calling customer service. That is then kind of reflecting on the job of the customer service representative rather than the maybe salesperson who missold them. And I feel like in a way, then that person, that representative, will then get penalized for the fact that they couldn't help this customer, or this customer didn't leave the call happy, or feel like it was resolved, when really, actually, maybe we should be looking at the salesperson who missold them in the first place.
Correct. Yeah, and that point you just brought is also the disconnect, right? I'll talk about my experience yesterday, right? I opened a business account, right? Gosh, 3 months ago. But next thing you know, I start getting these statements that had another personal checking account. There's a business. Apparently, I must have signed something that ended up with the business and it is. So I tried calling over the phone, right? And that was going nowhere. So I drove to the bank myself. And the customer service person I interacted with, she was fantastic. She didn't create the mess. She fixed it. But what did she do at the end of the interaction? She went out of her way to tell me that I'm going to get a survey and that I should give her good marks, right? So think about the position we're putting her. She has done nothing wrong. She didn't create this problem. She didn't do that. But somehow, right,
Mm.
my dissatisfaction with whatever happens is now her responsibilities, right? And so that's the pervasive kind of thinking that we need to sort of re-examine. And
Yeah.
there's also another benefit from thinking about it different. So if you keep blaming customer service for all the ills of the company, guess what doesn't fix? Your shipping department doesn't get fixed. The supply chain doesn't get fixed. Sales doesn't get fixed because you're not putting any pressure on them. You are just expecting, right? Like you keep like putting it all on the firefighters. I think we should
Mm.
investigate the arsonist. Let's figure out who is setting these fires, because it's actually cheaper in the long run if you prevent me from ever having to do that. So the ironic thing is companies are trying to save money in customer service, and the
Mm.
place to actually save money is not there, because once it's gotten to customer service, you've already lost. Is to
Yeah.
work on taking the data from customer service, stop beating them up, and go to the sources of what's causing all this friction and fix those areas. Then that would be one less person who needs to even contact customer service. And then
Mm.
voila, you can pay customer service a greatly as they deserve, right? You can do all of these things and still keep your customers happy.
That brings me on to another quote. It just rolled perfectly, so I'm just going to read it. So you said, service employees don't want to be heroes, but
Mm.
if they are heroes, as you keep insisting, they need to be paid like Tony Stark or even Batman. That Batman, sorry, which I loved because I'm a huge kind of just comic, Marvel, DC, everything. Um, but you do speak volumes in this area. Most customer service roles are low basic wage and not commission based, so you can't even actually pump up your
Right.
salary from getting the commission like the sales team, for example, would. Um, so, how do you feel that having higher paid roles, like paying people higher, and so they are paid more, so therefore they have more responsibilities, you can trust them more? Is that really kind of one way we can look at resolving the treatment of customer service employees?
Yeah, doing that alone is not the solution. But let's
Yeah.
get real, right? Why does this business exist, right?
Mm,
We're here to make money. I don't show up to work for any of that. And the way, if you're the CEO, the way you tell me you love me, the way you tell me you appreciate me is through money. I don't mean to be I don't mean to be transactional about it, but let's get real. I already have a family that loves me. I don't need another family. I'm good. I am here, right, to make money. So you can tell me how much heroes I am. You vote. At the end of the
mm,
day, you are voting with your wallet. The executive team tells the world what is important to them, not by their words, but by their money, right? Like
mm,
I don't like, and so it has to be part of the thing. Of course, just paying service more and leaving everything else the same is not going to fix anything. But you need to do all of the things that we've talked about and fix those issues. But please stop the nonsense, right? This
mm.
job is getting more and more complicated because all the easy stuff are gone. All the
Yeah.
easy stuff are on the website. All the easy stuff are on this god awful phone trees that everyone hates, right? What is left? What is left is complicated, right? Which is why I say customer service is harder than rocket science, because what is left is getting two strangers together, right?
Mm.
And to resolve an issue and protect both of their feelings and any of those kinds of things. That is a very complicated job that deserves to be paid what it's worth.
I completely agree because it's kind of like the skill set of a customer service representative is almost overlooked as if it's not a skill set. It's just like something everyone can do. Um, and I don't feel that's the case. I feel like there's not many people, not everyone could pick up a phone and make someone feel comfortable or resolve a situation. It does take a certain type of person. And since we do have those skills, I believe we should be paid for them.
I
So
agree.
let's just get more pay is what I'm saying.
I am all for that. I am all for that. And I think it's how you demonstrate the importance of something, right? All business
Mm,
problems are money problems, right? So in the end, that has to be part of the equation. That tends to be the place that leaders tend to be bashful about, right? So
mm.
they want to talk around it, and I just come at it very directly. You cannot tell me how something is important and then pay it the least, right? You need
Yeah.
to demonstrate how important it really is.
The last thing I want to really about on this subject then is the generational changes. So we do have currently things like the Great Resignation, and I keep seeing all of your American articles talking about the difference between Gen X and millennials and Gen Z. Um, the younger population, so those Gen Zers, those that age group seems to be shaking up what they want from work and what they're willing to accept. And since most low paying customer service jobs are aimed at young people, do you feel like their way of seeing the world or not willing to stick with the norm might change the way in which those roles are, one, filled, and two, paid?
Yeah, I think a lot of the generational thing gets overplayed, but I think
Mm,
there is a there, and here's kind of how I am thinking about it, how I imagine it plays out. It
mm,
is because that as we focus on this labor shortage and the great resignation, et cetera, right? What it's going to force is organizations may lean into automations. Customers will then revolt because we've seen enough of it, right? No one has ever called a 1-800 number, being faced with a phone tree, and is like, oh, this is awesome, right? So eventually, especially how bad and how terrible they're built, eventually customers will start voting with their wallet. And I'm not saying that customers don't want technology at all. Everyone's running around with iPhones and Android phones, et cetera. It needs to be smart. It needs to be
mm.
get me and make a lot of sense. So eventually, I think we're going to see pressure on wages and treatments go up, right? You're seeing more companies now, talking about taking the side of the employees, saying treat our employees more courteously, whereas in the past it was customers always right, take it on the chin, that you're seeing that evolution. So I think, this whole employees first, customer second has a chance to take root. But the way I think it ends up playing out is companies are going to lean even heavier into technology and automation. Customers will revolt, and eventually they'll do the right thing. Eventually, I don't think it'll be a smooth ride up the escalator. I think it'll have some bumps in the road, but I suspect we'll end up in a good place.
I think it does take progress. You need steps, and maybe with some businesses cutting corners because of the changes, maybe changing offices, not having offices, and stuff like that. It might slow it down. But I also have quite a positive
Yeah.
outlook rather on what the future holds for the industry itself, for the role. Well, I have got to say thank you and leave it for today. I'm not done with you yet, though. So I'll see you and your crazy self again another day.
Sounds good. Thank you for having me.
Thanks.